Yo. We're back. I had to miss last week. I think, did Bryce miss the first week? I can't remember. It's the first week, though. Normal schedule for us. We got games tonight, which we're not going to talk a ton about today, but tomorrow, another big slate. And last week, I haven't talked to you guys about college since then, but it was a good little week. Lots of good takes. I don't think we got all the way to the finish line with anything like crazy, but felt like the takes were pretty good. Bruce was dialed in all three slates like he always is. But what's going on today, Bruce? Fresh week. I saw you say you were ahead of schedule too, like 2 days ago. Which even for you, would you have everything up for the whole freaking weekend by Wednesday or something?
Yeah, man. This college football slate has me a little excited. So
did you get any movement? Some movement in the drawers?
A little bit, just a little. A little horny. So, but especially the night slate, man. This night slate is so loaded. And there's even a 5-game late night slate, which man, I love to see. I haven't started on that one yet. Probably be late tonight.
You haven't started on the late night Saturday on Friday yet? Yeah, you're letting the people down not having that late night Saturday up already.
Yep. It's solid, man. It's such a great week. I mean, there's so many good games and so many good plays, especially on this main slate. It's not like last week where you kind of just had one quarterback play that everybody was going to play and he was going to crush, and he didn't exactly crush, but he
we had to work hard to get him there too.
Yeah. we had to will him to 25, but
like absolutely will him to 25 too.
Last week,
what's up with you? I'm sure you did decent last week with the way it was.
I mean, I did fine just because the chalk smash, but you kind of needed to fill out the rest of your roster correctly, and I didn't. My plays were good, but they weren't I didn't have Ollie Gordon in my main team, so that was pretty much automatic L there just because he went for 40. I hate weeks like last week where there's 5 free squares pretty much, and it's you're just playing 3v3 essentially. So I like this week a lot more. I think there's we'll even recycle some of these plays we used last week. We got Pitt and Syracuse back on the slate. And we got Texas in a big game against Michigan. I know Bruce is excited for that one. We got some real football this week. I mean, last week was kind of a little warm up, dink and dunk week. Try and get yourself across the line. But I think we see the meat of the season really starts now.
Yeah, I agree with last week. It was just a weird week too, because some of the pricing's a little soft this week too, but it's what makes college fun anyways, because you get some of these lock plays you can get different in other spots. The part that's frustrating though about college is what you said, where you can feel like you nailed the slate completely, and this was kind of how last week went. But if you don't hit every single play in there, it makes it tough. I mean, one bad spot, you're in trouble in college a lot of the weeks because guys just smash. And your running backs could have crushed last week. But like you said, if you didn't have Ollie, and he puts up 40 or whatever he put up, you're in trouble. So it's fun though. That's what makes it fun. You get these NFL slates, you get some stinkers in there. College, you get some serious scoring going.
Yeah, and at the end of the slate, last week, I'm feeling like I crushed it. Then I look at Ollie, and he has 40 DK. I'm like, man, I went way over on Presley instead, and he didn't do what I thought he would.
It's frustrating too, because you look back at it and you're like, we had unlimited value. Mm-hmm. How the hell did I not play Ollie? We had value everywhere.
I should have just played him over Blue, which I think was the solution. Just because he was going to get rested for this big game, and I know we had talked about it on the show. It was just so hard to actually do, and it was just that easy.
Yeah,
100%. All right, let's hop into the slate. I'm just gonna read it. I don't have I'll pull up DK so I don't pull a man going while I was gonna read it off Saber, but Saber's always has it. Why do they always have a different list than DK? It's tilting, but let's start with the K-State Tulane game. We got K-State -8, 47 total. It looks like not one of the better games on the slate, I would say. But Bruce, what are you looking at here?
Yeah, this is they played last year, and I think it was 14-10 or something crazy. Really slow game. I watched some Kansas State tape this morning. I posted in the chat. They did kind of run a little bit faster than they did last year. They do have a new offensive coordinator, but it's the same basic system. So I don't know, maybe they're trying to go a little bit faster with Avery Johnson at quarterback this year. I do think he's a decent play. He's only 7,500, runs the football. He has that long hair. You love to see that. I think he's a solid play.
Is it a white dude? A white dude
Yeah,
with
yeah.
the old Spurs name? With the old Spurs
Yeah,
point guard
yeah. He
name?
looks nothing like
The
nothing
total
like the
opposite of
Spurs.
that Avery Johnson?
Yeah, yeah. Former Mavs coach. Yeah, it doesn't look anything like him. He's got long flowing blonde hair, and he's really fast, big guy too. So yeah, he's fun to watch. I think he's definitely in play. 7,500. He's going to be owned for sure. And then, Mekhi Hughes really crushed for us last year. He didn't get many carries week 114, but they blew out whoever they played. So they really didn't need it. I think he's a decent play. Tulane's going to run the football for sure. They got a new quarterback. So, it's definitely going to be a running game. And I think Jace Brown looked good for Kansas State last week. If you need a guy to pair with Avery Johnson, you don't have to. But I think he's a really good receiver. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't want to get too overexposed to this one just because the total's so low, and it should be a running football game.
Slong, what do you think?
Yeah, I got pretty much the same opinion as Bruce here. It's not my favorite game to attack. We got some really solid totals on this slate compared to this game. I think Giddens is probably the best play for me here. If Bruce is talking about blowouts with last week's stuff, you really want to look at like the first quarter and first half, like snap counts and stuff like that. See who's really getting the touches when the game mattered, and it was Giddens. So I kind of expect him to be more of a workhorse back for me here. I do prefer the Kansas State ground game to the passing game. That being said, running QB for 7,500, I think is definitely in play. I don't think you need to pair him, but I would probably pair him with Brown since Bruce likes him. I'm not really on the K-State passing game a ton here, but yeah, I prefer to attack this game on the ground. I think Hughes does get the majority of carries for on the other side of the ball, and I would much rather play him than any of their weapons outside of him. So, if you're doing a little game stack, I think Hughes makes sense. I think Hughes makes sense in GPP. He wouldn't really make it in a cash game for me, which sounds a little weird just because I love playing him in cash in general, just because of his volume. But, their team total is just pretty shit compared to the rest of this stuff. So, yeah, I think it's kind of Giddens and then everyone else in this game for me.
These are always the games that I struggle with a little bit, just because Giddens, like, projection is going to be really, really good based on his salary, only 6,600. But I just hate freaking it's a 47 total on Pinnacle right now, which Sabre has a little higher, which is always interesting to me because Sabre obviously just runs a bunch of sims and stuff that gives you numbers. So I think Sabre's at like a little over 50. So three full points higher than Pinnacle has it. But it's just a low total, and Giddens is going to he's got to be popular with this projection. So I just struggle with plays like that. And then I agree with you guys though on the rest. Avery Johnson, Jace Brown, if you want to play. Where's this Cephas from, Bruce? Is it one of those MAC schools or something?
Yeah, he was MAC first and then Penn State last year.
So he's another in the nil era, just everyone plays three schools in 3 years.
Yeah.
The way they just cycle around.
Mm-hmm.
But so I'm the same as you guys on K-State. I need to look at the rest of the running backs as we go before Giddens, but his projection is popping off the page for sure looking at it. Tulane, I struggle with Hughes. So I talked about not liking the K-State side. I'm really not going to like the Tulane side in a low total. I can't see myself going to Hughes if I was doing some sort of stack, but I just don't see myself doing that. So I agree with you guys. That not a lot different here. Let's move to Okie State. Our boy Ollie from last week and last season just continues to crush. Looks like -10, 61.5 is the total. I didn't realize how touted OK State is this year, almost in the national title picture in their own way. I guess because they got everyone back or something after we talked about all the transfers and stuff. What do you think here, Bruce?
Yeah, they returned their whole offensive line. They struggled a little bit last week on the ground, at least in the first half, and then Ollie just crushed crushed second half receiving and running. Had 4 targets last week, so that's always in play. If you can't run the football, they're going to throw it to him, get him in space. But yeah, this Arkansas offense looked great last week. It was a terrible team that they played, but Bobby Petrino back there running the offense is it's always interesting. Then they have Talon Green, the Boise State transfer who can run. Ran last week really well. I think he had a long touchdown run. And he's only 7,500 as well. Totals high. I think it's a 60 and a half, somewhere around there right now. And Oak State's not even favored by double digits. So, and both of these teams love to pass. Oak State actually was the number one had the most passing attempts in the Big 12 last year. And that's with Ollie Gordon in there. So they kind of like to pass to set up the run. And you have some good receiving possibilities here on Oak State. Brennan Presley, he catches all the short stuff, kind of a gadget guy too. And then they have Stribling back, who's 4,800. Rashad Owens on the outside, on the other side of Stribling, big play guy as well. And then we have Haas Daddy for 3,300, going home to Oklahoma. A big tight end. Only played 38% of the snaps last week, but he's coming back from injury last season, and I love him. I think he's a great play. Andrew Armstrong has been practicing for Arkansas too. And if he's back, he's kind of the target guy there for them if he's 100%. So
is this the Hoff dude from Washington State?
No,
Yeah.
it's you played him last year.
I thought it was
for
for
Arkansas.
Washington State though. No,
he was from Arkansas. You played him early on
last year. They must have played Arkansas then the game I had him or something then.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah,
or I'm just wrong. That could be the case too, for sure.
He crushed for you. He crushed for you.
I remember he crushed for me though when he was on Oak, so he is a hero. I remember that part.
Yeah, he's so great. And then you have Jaquindon Jackson for Arkansas, Texas, and Utah transfer. He looked great week 1, 4.7 yards after contact per attempt, scored a couple times too. So I like him. Kind of maybe a little bit under-owned, especially if you stack up this game. He's a great running back.
What do you think, Sloan?
Yeah, I much prefer taking shots at this game, on the Arkansas side of the ball to even playing more K-State guys. I just think it has a much more higher chance of shooting out, becoming that back and forth game that you really want. I think Talon Green is a pretty solid play here. I don't think he garners tons of ownership as a 10-point road dog, but if Arkansas gets there, scoring wise, it's likely through him, either passing or on the ground. So I think that's pretty good. I was just worried about who to pair him with, and Bruce comes along and gives us this tight end.
The 3,300.
Those are my favorite plays. Yeah, the
Bruce
3,300 tight ends. Definitely going to have some shares of Haas this week. On the Oklahoma State side of the ball, Ollie Gordon's going to get 30 touches a game here. 10-point home favorite. I think it's pretty easy to say that he's the best play on the slate, outside of any quarterbacks. So, at least DraftKings priced him up this week. It's not super easy to fit him in. You kind of could have, last week, you could have done whatever you wanted. There's just so much excess salary. It's a little bit of the case this week, not quite as much. So, hopefully we see some discounted ownership on Ollie. I think he's a little bit harder of a click this week than he was last week, just because 9.1 isn't exactly easy to fit. He has to go out and get you 30 for that. Anything less than 30 isn't going to get it done at that price. So yeah, I like Presley a lot in this spot. I think they will have to pass more and pass more successfully. He's really the target hog on this offense. Don't love Bowman, honestly. If I was stacking this game, I would rather choose Talon Green with Oklahoma State skill players would be my preferred way to stack it. Bowman's burned me in the past. I just don't necessarily love his upside in every spot. It is a great team total, but I'm likely going to be underweight on him, probably trying to be overweight on Gordon, Presley, and Talon Green here.
Yeah, and Rob pops into the chat, says Ollie Gordon only plus 195 to score 3 times. That is an absurd line to score 3 times. Only plus 195, but the issue is he probably still going to hit it. So it's probably still a good bet even at plus 195. I agree with a lot of what you guys said. I have a little bit of an issue with Taylon Green, probably just from previous scar tissue from how bad he was at Boise. But I actually think he is going to be pretty popular just because of the total and how he runs. And he had a big week last week against Little Sisters of the Poor, or whoever they freaking played. Who did they play? It was a terrible team, right, Bruce?
Yeah. Yeah, it was
Arkansas
Arkansas
Pine Bluff or something?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. But, I mean, to your guys' point, he is a runner, though, so he always has upside. And I was going to mark him as a fade. But the minute you come in with Hoss the Boss at 3,300, and I can have a runner with a cheaper, because like it fits perfect to just run back with Ollie, like a little mini stack. You got a running quarterback, you got a cheap receiver to help fit Ollie. It kind of just fits in a nice little stack. So he's back more in play for me. And I agree with Schlong on like the rest of the team too. I just don't love a lot of these receivers. I know Jackson's projected pretty good. We got him at 14.8, it looks like. I just don't love it. Part of it is Taylor just can't throw that well. So I'd rather play a cheap receiver. Whenever it's a shitty runner, I just want a cheap receiver to pair with just because it won't hurt you that much if they don't get a ton of volume. Maybe you vulture it. And tight end's even better because maybe he vultures a touchdown. That dude dropped like 38 or something for me in whatever game that was last year.
Yep.
So I know he's got it in him. I've seen it. The Okie State side is very clear. I'm with you guys. Love Ollie. I want to do everything I can just to get him in. And I didn't realize they brought the whole O-line back. So, I mean, he crushed last year. They bring the whole team back. I don't see how he's not just going to keep crushing this year. So I'm on him. Presley let us down a little bit last week, I believe, without looking at the box score. I think he struggled. But I want to come back with him just like Schlong. I think his PPR upside's huge. And I can even see playing just like Ollie, Presley with the two the other way because I don't like Bowman either. In college, you need upside. I think Bowman's like super safe to get us 20, but I don't think he ever gets like 40 or something, which you need in college occasionally some upside. So I think we agree on a lot on this game. Let's move to Bruce's squad. Texas -7 versus Michigan. Michigan looked terrible last week. They almost lost to some scrub team. Texas looked pretty good. Even old Arch came in and threw a touchdown, I think. Mm-hmm. What's going on with your squad, Bruce? First of all, and I talked about the Sabres' weird numbers. Somehow on here it's got Michigan 26-24, and they're a 7-point dog. So I don't quite get that, but tell me about it, Bruce.
Yeah, this is a rough game. I think it's going to be very defensive. Unless Texas is able to throw the football. The run game didn't look great last week. I think whenever they brought in someone not named Jaden Blue, they were able to run the football. So, yeah, I think Quinn Ewers is probably going to have to pass a little bit better this week. He took a lot of the short stuff last week. I think they don't want to show what they have in like Isaiah Bond. They threw him a lot of short stuff, 7 targets last week within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. So I think they want to use him over the top a lot, and they want to show that this week. I watched the Fresno and Michigan game last week, and Michigan brought the house. They have Wink Martindale as their DC, the old Baltimore guy, I think he was Baltimore, maybe Giants before that. And the thing about him is he loves to rush the quarterback, a lot of zero coverage. So you should see a lot of islands on the outside with Bond and Golden and Cook, those guys. And they can get open. They're all really fast. Silas Bolden even caught a touchdown. So I really like the passing game here for Texas. Not so much Michigan. I don't think they're going to be able to do much against this Texas defense, especially with the quarterback situation. They ran out Davis Warren, they ran out Alex Orji as well, and they just didn't look great. So Give me Quinn Ewers and his receivers if I'm going to play anybody. Don't love the running backs here on either side. Mullings and Edwards are way overpriced, 8,800 and 7,400. And yeah, I don't think this is going to be a great offensive game.
Nice low total, 42.5 schlong. I'm sure you don't like a ton here, but anything stick out?
No, there's two games that stick out to me as just total fades, and this is one of them. You get these guys priced up just because they're big programs like Texas, Michigan, like they got name value. But I mean, who's paying these prices for these players? I mean, if you want to get different, like I could see like Blue or Bond as like a one-off maybe. That like I would have in my pool, but like I'm not actively trying to get on them. Those would be like the two guys for me. I'd probably prefer Bond, but this and one of the games we'll get to later just kind of seem like full fades to me. Want absolutely nothing to do with Michigan here. If you do want to play a piece on the Texas side, I'm fine with that, but not a game I have much interest in whatsoever.
Yeah, so I totally agree. In college in general, if you stay away from low 40s totals or even totals in the 40s, if you take the course of the season, you're going to end up in better shape than if you play it. Sure, plays can get there here and there. Obviously, it's college football, and sometimes volume rises, but still, yeah, I'm on the same page. I mean, Blue would be the guy for me for Texas. I'm definitely not playing Ewers at 9K against Michigan in this low total. I actually didn't think Texas looked very good last week. Granted, it was a total throwaway game, so I mean, it is what it is. But I don't like the passing game. Definitely not playing. It would just be Blue. I do have just one like straight tournament play on Michigan just because literally no one's going to play him, and I think he's really, really good at actual football. But Colston Loveland, the tight end, I loved him last year. He just crushed last week in game 1, 20-something points, 8 targets, 80 yards or something in a touchdown. Just as a total flyer, I'm talking if you play like a really chalky team and you somehow land in this range, I just think he's a good tournament play. Not saying to go crazy with it. Definitely don't lock him. None of that shit. But if you have a chalky team and want one just crazy pivot, I do like Colston Loveland. Talent level, a ton. Big issue with him, man, the quarterback play is not going to be great. The price is bad. The total's bad. Everything's bad, but that's why no one's going to play him either. So just weigh both of those. I like that. Let's move to the next game. My favorite game, and everyone's probably one of their favorite games, but Pitt. Last week, me and Mangone was in town. We sat there and watched it. They look so freaking good to me. And I was hoping they'd get a good matchup this week where we could take advantage of it before everyone realizes it. Because last week they were pretty much unowned for the prices. The running back was kind of owned, but these receivers were unowned. The quarterback was unowned. And now they play Cincy. And I sent a tweet out earlier too, those of you that saw, but somehow they're +2. Like, I don't understand. Pittsburgh looks like a total lock to me in this spot. So I'm excited to hear what you guys think because I'm very, very confident in this spot. I love Pittsburgh's offense. I love the OC. I think from Western Carolina or wherever he was from. I just love how they play. So Bruce, tell me why I'm right, why I'm wrong. Hopefully you like it with me.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of an overreaction because Kent State isn't really great. I think they were one of the worst teams last season. But yeah, I love the offense. I mean, the defense is questionable. And I think that could be the problem for Pitt most of the season, which usually it's the opposite. And a lot of times when you see teams go to these hurry up systems, their defense definitely gets worse. You see that at USC especially. So. I think this game has some blowout potential for sure. I think Holstein looked great last week, and he's going to continue to start just passing the football, running a little bit too. Sorsby on the other side for Cincy ran. I think he scored 2 touchdowns on the ground, had 2 passing as well. Just a good runner. So I think Cincy's going to probably try and run a little bit slower. They are. They are kind of a slower running team, but they are very explosive too with Henderson at receiver on the outside. And, Sorsby, I think probably their best quarterback they've had since Desmond Ridder, our favorite NFL quarterback from last few years. So, I love this game as well. Corey Kiner, 5,700, solid running back. they probably will rotate a little bit there. They do have some talent, but I think he's going to be their goal line guy as always. And then Desmond Reed, had a huge game last week. He wasn't as owned as I thought he was going to be. I thought he was going to be like 80% owned, and people were sad after the first quarter when he returned that punt, and it was all downhill for them the rest of the way. I don't mind Derek Davis either. I thought he looked good. The LSU transfer for 4,500, backup running back. He might get on some goal line plays. Then all the receivers: Poppy Williams, Kenny Johnson, Mumpfield. I thought they all looked great. Then they brought in this Lee guy at the end of the game. He got 11 targets, out of nowhere. I think he's Western Carolina transfer. Bartholomew is 4K. And on the Cincy side, man, you have Henderson, like I mentioned. They have a Ohio State transfer at tight end. They got 6 targets last week. Just looks like a stud, and he's 3,800. Aaron Turner, transfer from UConn's 5,400. No one's going to play him probably. He
Who's
starts.
the Ohio State guy? Who'd you say? Royer?
That Joe Royer. Yeah, he has a name like he's probably blue collar, and he kind of looks like it out there. He's a lot like Bartholomew, but he just looks more like an athlete. Makes big plays. The coach said they need to get him the ball more too. He already had 6 targets, 8. His average depth of target was about 10 yards down the field too. Was in the slot 46% of the time. You love to see that from the tight end position. So 3,800 for a tight end. That's great, right up my alley. So I have some interest there for sure. This game is just great.
I mean, this game, I'm glad you like it. I'm sure Schlong, there's no way Schlong doesn't like it with us, but Schlong, talk about it.
No, I mean, this is probably my favorite game of the slate. I mean, you're giving up points to Kent State, and since he's giving them up to Towson, when you play someone good, they're just going to score points. 62.5 total. You get two pretty cheap offenses for, the expected offensive environment in this game. Yeah, I think it's pretty hard to get away from. Holstein's probably one of the best cheap options at QB, only 6,500. You can do it a bit on the ground too. You saw him take some sacks last week that really kind of hurt his rushing total a little bit. But, he's not incapable as a runner. Desmond Reed's still too cheap. Only thing that worries me about him is he did get a little banged up last week.
He's small too.
He's a little dude. I think the only argument you can really make against him is that because the guy's absolutely electric. Pitt pass catchers. I don't think you're not going to really see all 5 players make an impact pass catching wides many times, but I'd probably rank them: Mumfield, Williams, Johnson, Bartholomew, then Lee was kind of like how I had written it down, but I think all 5 are in play. Lee would be my least favorite just because he kind of seemed to come in at the end of the game, but he played really well in that time. That's something the coaches do look at. He's definitely not getting demoted snap wise. So, I think the Pittsburgh side of the ball is pretty solid. If you want to get different, I think you probably play a couple of these pick guys with Holsteins, because I think the chalkier route is actually going to be to play Holstein and Reed together, just because both of them are too cheap in my opinion. So I think Pitt pass catchers are pretty solid in GPP. Cincy, Sorsby's a really solid play. You're just not getting that $1,500 discount that you get with Holstein. So, Sorsby's in the cash conversation, in my opinion, regardless. But, I think he profiles really well in tournaments as well. Kiner would be the guy from Cincy for me out of the backfield. I think he's a pretty solid play. I don't think anyone's going to be on him at 5,700 here. There's just really strong running back plays. I think it takes a set, or I think it's worth taking a shot in a really solid game environment with their lead back and their lead goal line back. Henderson was already on my list, and, you can add Big Joe Royer to it as well. We know Bruce loves his tight ends, and we love Bruce. So, I love little nuggets like that. So, just a guy that I wasn't really on in a game that I absolutely love, sign me up for that all day.
It's the best thing about this too, and it's why I think we provide so much value for college football, because it's pretty easy to find the chalky plays and jam them. And Bruce is so good at finding just these random dudes that just don't pop. And it's perfect for college because you want to play chalk. I want to play a bunch of chalk because the chalk are the best plays by a mile. But I want one or two random guys. Makes so much sense in this spot. I just think Pitt, man. One thing I think I'm good at is just once I see teams, I get a good feel for them. I think they're good. I think they're way, way underpriced. Like, I know everyone thinks they're underpriced, but I think they're even more underpriced than other people do. I just think they're going to go up and down the field. And I think Cincinnati will too. So I think we're just full shove. The one mistake I made, because last week in my main team, I had Holstein and 2 receivers, which no one had, and they smashed. But because of that, I didn't play Reed. I basically did what Schlong just said. I didn't play Reed, which just screwed me. I needed all 4. Because I did play Ollie too, but I just didn't have Reed, and you needed both. You needed Reed and Ollie because Reed smashed. Just didn't quite get there because of that, but I think you can do it again. I mean, some of my biggest hits in college have been just full shove games where you play Holstein, Reed, and 2 receivers. You play Cincy's quarterback, 1 or 2 other guys, and just full shove, and just hope it's 48-44 or something, which it could be in college. So I think we all agree in this game, though. Full shove. Let's get back to another ugly one. We got Penn State. Man, this one's real bad. 34.5 with only a 49 total. Bruce, what do you think of this one?
Yeah, this one it's pretty bad. Penn State came into the year knowing that they were going to run the football, and that's what they did. They ran 70% of the time last week against West Virginia, and they should do the same here. They should be able to run on Bowling Green, and do whatever they want. So the 2 running backs, they're so tilting. Once again, I got it mostly wrong last week. Singleton and Allen, they should be able to run the football, score however they want here. So Singleton and Allen are in play. I think Harrison Wallace is probably in play for Penn State just because he's a big play guy, and that's really the only kind of receiver you want from this game because there's not going to be a ton of volume. He had a 50% target share last week, scored 2 touchdowns, 8 targets, 13.5 ADOT. So he's really all that I want on that Penn State side, on the receiver side. So Bowling Green doesn't really have anything I like, even though they have one of the better tight ends, and Harold Fannin is going to be an NFL guy, but he's priced up a little bit too much for me.
What do you think, Slong?
Hard pass this game. Penn State's defense is too good. All they want to do is run the football. It just screams fade to me. I think, and this will be the way anyone attacks this game is you play Singleton or Allen. I would go back to the well with Allen at a $1,400 discount. I don't think there's a ton separating them. You could easily see these guys price flip in a couple weeks. I think Allen's a decent play for 5,300. But as Tony said earlier, it's not a great total. Questionable workload. I don't know. I think you're kind of finding more reasons to try and play him than kind of works out. So I'm likely going to be underweight on this game as a whole. He's just kind of the one that stood out to me as a potential play.
Yeah, Penn State's just a nightmare for me anyways, because these 2 bastards, they always look like good plays. I don't remember ever a time regretting it, because again, you need upside in college. They're running 2 guys. Can one of them absolutely crush for sure? But you got to guess. We have other just great running back plays on the slate. It's just easier just to fade. And you know what? If one of them gets there and someone hits it, that's fine. But it's just not for me. Let's move to another pretty good game. We got Georgia Tech -3, 61 total versus Q's. Q's looked a little rough last week to me. Georgia Tech, did they play after the Florida State game or no, Bruce?
Yeah, they played Georgia State last week. Well, yeah, one of the
Yeah,
it was pretty close, late 3rd quarter, but then they pulled away.
And honestly, obviously I didn't watch last week, but the first week, these main guys might be more condensed than a lot of teams in college football. We don't see it a ton where the quarterback's Haynes King. I get them confused because they both name Haynes. But Haynes King, the quarterback, and Jamal Haynes, the running back, are just really, really good plays, I think, versus Syracuse. But Bruce, talk about this game real quick.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Haynes, Jamal Haynes is one of the better running back plays on the slate, just because if you watch Syracuse last week, they got gashed by some backup Northwestern transfer for Ohio. I think he ran for well over 200 yards. And the defense just looks not good. They hired a defensive guy as their coach, but may take a few games for them to totally get it together. I think Haynes has a huge game here. I know he's a little priced up, but I don't mind that, especially when he's such a great playmaker. He did get a little dinged up in that Georgia State game, but came back. I think he got the wind knocked out of him. He walked off the field with his hand on his back or something. So, but he looks fine. Yeah, I don't have a ton of interest in the Syracuse side outside of Gadsden. I think you can play him every week. He's just different compared to these other receivers on this team. Pena went off as a 3K guy last week, but he's always injured. He gets injured every single year. I was tilting not playing him last week, even though I had him in the 3K shitter column.
Even though I had him in the 3K shitter column,
I just didn't play. Didn't have enough. But I do think Syracuse has to throw the football a little bit more. So yeah, Gadsden's definitely in play at 5K. I just think he's too big of a playmaker. Had 32% target share last week. So definitely interesting. 7K for Allen is a little steep. I think there's better plays down there, but he is going to be the workhorse guy. So I don't totally hate that.
Song, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Gadsden's still 2K too cheap. Like, he should be one of the highest priced, if not like up there with like Presley in terms of price for me on this slate. They got it wrong last week at 3,600. They tried to do a little bit better this week, but it's still not enough of an increase to me. I mean, I would have played him at like 6K last week, and I'm likely going to be playing him at 5K this week. I don't love McCord. I just kind of think he sucks. I think there's quarterbacks with more upside here in this spot. Like, I'd rather go to the Georgia Tech side of the game. Give me King over McCord any day of the week. Just due to the running ability. You really want your quarterback to come out here and score 30 to 40. I think 35. Like, regardless of price. Like, even if he's cheap, you want him scoring 30. Like, just because you're wasting a quarterback spot on him. And there's plenty of good quarterbacks this week. It's not like last week. So give me Haynes King in this spot. I like both running backs. I think I like Allen a little bit more than Bruce here. 7K for a workhorse back in a good total game. That's not that he's not on the wrong side of the total on. I think it's a pretty good spot. I do think it's a fair price for him. He's not like 5,200 like he was last week. He'd be in like every one of my teams if he was that cheap. But I still think he's in a good spot for 7K. Haynes, I'd probably go Allen, and then Haynes King would be like my preferred way to play this game. But I definitely wouldn't leave Haynes, the running back, out either. As you said, Tony, they just kind of funnel their offense through these guys, and it makes it pretty easy to play DFS wise and stack. And I don't really think tons of people are going to be on Georgia Tech here, but I think that's a bit of a mistake. They're expected to put up points, and who's going to score the points. So I think that's a really solid spot.
And I totally agree. Like, you got to make decisions early in the season before everyone knows kind of what the teams are. And Georgia Tech, I think, just might be a little underrated. And Syracuse, to me, just didn't look great. I feel like it's a pretty sneaky spot just because these guys can't get that much ownership with the way this slate sets up. Totally agree with you guys about McCord. I mean, he was awful last year. He had a good game week 1, but man, he's got to suck. There's no way he doesn't. 8,400 is a lot for him too. Can't do it, but I'm more on the strong side with Allen. He kind of struggled last week a little bit, but still ended up getting there at the end. I like him a decent amount, but pretty good game. Let's move it on to Auburn Cal. Auburn's minus 12, 53.5. And you have some of the better plays on the slate here, Bruce. So what do you think about this game?
Yeah, these two teams played last year as well, kind of a home and home situation. And Auburn won 14-10. It was a high scoring affair. I do like Auburn in this game. I know Jaden Ott's been banged up, but he usually he usually gets hurt and then comes back and plays the next game like nothing happened. So I definitely see him playing here. But he's 9,100 against a decent Auburn defense. That's that's tough. Definitely tough to pay, especially when Ollie's there. So you probably won't see him owned at all. I like the Auburn side here. I do think Peyton Thorne is a solid play. I hate saying that, but this Cal team struggled last week against UC Davis, and don't return a ton on defense. So I just I don't think you can discount him. 7,800 with a good ground game for him. He can run the football. Last week his average depth of target was 17 yards. Threw the football on time. So I definitely think you have to consider him at least because he does run the football. You don't have to pair him up with a receiver either. And I think Jarquez Hunter, is one of the better plays. 6,500 workhorse guy. Had 13 yards of carry last week before they blew out whoever they played. I think he's primed for a big year. And then you have all these Auburn receivers. Keandre Lambert-Smith had a couple touchdowns last week. The Penn State transfer. Cam Coleman, another 5-star receiver, kind of like our guy Jeremiah Smith last week. He was right behind him in the rankings and caught a long touchdown. I think it was like 33 yards or something. Looked good. Did a double move on the outside receiver and just left him behind like he wasn't even there. It was great. The Cal receivers don't really have any interest unless Tobias Merriweather plays. He's the Notre Dame transfer and he's solid. I think he's a solid tournament play if he at least suits up. He didn't play last week. Same with their Ohio State transfer. I think he is Keon Grays. Had a couple guys not even suit up. So yeah, definitely looking at these Auburn receivers, running backs, Peyton Thorne, all in play. I think Auburn rolls here.
What do we think, Schlong?
Yeah, I like Thorne a lot here. Running quarterback with electric receivers in a game that I expect them to score points. Sign me up for that. I think it's pretty easy to find a stack with him too. I mean, you get these guys. Bruce mentioned them. Lambert Smith, I think, is the best pairing here. Transfer from Penn State, has a ton of talent. If Thorne can get him the ball, he's gonna put up points. So I really like that pairing. Hunter, I think it's a very solid play at 6,500. Honestly, I think he goes overlooked here in this spot. I think people will gravitate more towards Thorne just because he runs too. You see the running backs get left behind in offenses like that. And, if Hunter does run well on touchdown variants, like that's a way to leverage yourself on the same team. My issue with this game is, I kind of struggle to find like run backs for Cal because, so much of the offense runs through Ott that, it kind of makes the rest of the team like pretty crappy plays to me. And it's like, even in an Auburn stack, it's like hard for me to click in Ott over like Gordon because you're probably not going to be playing both on the same team. You'd have to really punt everything off to get that. I don't think Ott's worth that here on the road in Auburn. So that's my only big negative here.
Yeah, and you bring up good point. Like the only time I would play Ott is on a team with Ollie, just in a weird build, but I just don't think you can do it. I know I'm being redundant saying it, but I mean, they got a low team total for the most part. It's only a 53.5 total, but they're a 12-point dog too. So I totally agree with what Schlong was saying, where Cal run backs are tough for me. Like I always want at least one guy to run back. And you could punt one of these receivers like Anderson or however the hell Deechees or however you say his name, how you say that dude's name, I don't know.
Yeah, the Maryland tight end transfer. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's stud. Yep.
I mean, I like those guys, but I don't want to force in a bad play in college. So maybe I just don't need a run back in this spot, because the issue for me is, man, these Auburn plays are good. Thorne, I know they played no one last week, and whoever I made the example earlier that they crushed against a bad team, I'm contradicting myself now, but man, they look good. And these receivers, I didn't know Cam Coleman. So last week, full disclosure, I wasn't on the show, but I didn't know until I read the playbook that Ohio State guy was the number one receiver in the country. And I immediately just shoved him, and it worked out. I hear Cam Coleman now is the number 2 after he looked good last week, and he's in the nut spot, and he's only 4,500. I mean, you have clear-cut guys. I mean, you can play Thorne with Lambert Smith if you want to spend up, who's fine. But I think you can get it actually through Cam Coleman and this Malcolm Simmons, who's 3K. The dude went – I know it was a bad game. Believe me, I totally get that I'm contradicting myself, but the dude last week went 3 for 91 and a touchdown at 3K. I just think there's clear route trees for these guys where, again, you want to play Ollie, and even it could be a build. I haven't done anything, but I just talked about playing Ott with Ollie. Maybe a build is Thorne, Coleman, Simmons, Ott, Ollie. Like that. I don't know if it fits because I haven't put it in there. Actually, I'll do it right now just because this is a premium show. If you play, who did I say? I said Thorne, Simmons at 4,500, or Coleman at 4,500, Simmons at 3K, and then you got the 2 spend-up running backs, Ollie and Ott. I mean, you're still at 53-33 for your last spots. And when you have a build like this, you just know you're unique. So when Ott and Ollie both go for 40 plus, I mean, you're just so freaking mint. And granted, it probably won't happen, but that's how you win a lot of money in a tournament, doing different constructions like that. And that reminds me a little of the Pitt spot last week. I know Thorne is more expensive than the guy was last week, but he runs more. But these receivers are just so cheap that I really like Coleman and Simmons even more than Lambert Smith, because Lambert Smith's priced efficiently, 6,400. Coleman should be 6,500 in my opinion. Now that I know he's the number 2 receiver in the country, I think these guys are going to crush. I freaking love it. I actually don't like Hunter as much as you guys, probably because I like the passing game though, and it's just kind of how it works in my mind. But I think this is a pretty good spot. Don't know about the Cal run, but you don't have any run backs for me, Bruce? You're usually good in these spots. Who do I run it back with?
Yeah, I think the guy you mentioned, Dyches, the Maryland tight end, is probably the best.
You like the tight end.
Yeah, he's kind of a receiver though. I mean, he was in the slot 60%.
He's like a big dude, right?
A
tall guy.
Yeah, he's built like a receiver. He's a big guy. Yeah.
And Boynton in the chat wants to know if Lambert Smith's PSU guy. I think he is, right?
Yeah. Of course. Yeah, people are going to be tilted by him for sure, because they were.
I don't like that. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'll play him some because of how much I like the game. I like him significantly less than the 2 cheap guys, though, because the whole point in playing a stack in a lower total is just to get the value they give, because you can crush. Like if you got a guy 4,500 and 3K, if they get you around 20, you're massive, massive for that slate. So.
Yeah, I just posted the video of Cam Coleman's route in the chat.
Don't get me more excited. Does he look good in the video? Because you're going to get me even more excited.
It's crazy, man.
I'm going to watch it while I lead you into this next game. Next game, Kentucky, South Carolina. Kentucky's 9.5 and 42. Kentucky looked really good to me last week. I know they stopped in midway through the third quarter and they were playing a scrub team, but they look good. Bruce, I know this isn't the best DFS game, but anything stick out to you?
Yeah, so Chip Trainum is out again for Kentucky. So, and the South Carolina defense looked terrible last week. So you have to consider the ground game again here. Kentucky loves to run it and then throw it to their explosive recievers. So I think you have to consider DSK. I'll shorten his name because I have no idea how to say it. Jamarian Wilcox, the third string guy, might be out too. So, they could be even shorter this week. They ran DSK out there 80% of the snaps last week before it was canceled, and then Yeah, Sumo. Yeah,
Big Sumo.
Big Sumo. Yeah, and then they had Jason Patterson in there for 4K. He kind of spelled him some snaps there too. So, but he's going to be a good play. Especially if this third string guy's out there, they're going to be really short with training them out. And I really liked how Vandegrift looked. Georgia transfer, ran the football well, had 3 passing touchdowns, has a great group of receivers in Brown, Key, and Macklin. I love all those guys. Macklin, the North Texas transfer, actually looked good. Key had a 23-yard ADOT last week. Macklin, 17 yards. So, there's big upside for these guys. Brown got the 2 touchdowns, of course. He's a stud too. And maybe there's some run backs with South Carolina, but I think Kentucky just controls this game. It's Seller's first game on the road as well, and he's a good runner, but he looks a little tentative early on. He didn't look great last week, so pretty much staying away from the South Carolina side here.
Our boy Rick Majerus just tuning in. We haven't got to the Utah game, Rick. So you're my boy. You get to listen to Bruce talk about it here in a second. But Bryce, no way you're on this game. But tell me if I'm wrong.
I could see DSK in cash. I mean, he's 6,200.
You are no chance. I'm pulling the Mangone on you. No chance you're playing a running back in this game in cash.
Well, I see 2 running backs I'm playing for sure, and I haven't decided my third.
No chance you're. I'll put me on the record. I usually get Mangone on this one. No chance you're playing Sumo in cash. In a 42 total, no chance.
He's good.
You are not playing Sumo. I'm calling Schlong. I stroke Schlong all show. No chance you're playing this dude in cash.
I gotta mention him. I like him. It might be dumb, but I like him. I agree with Bruce on this one. 6,200, I think is too cheap here for him. Passing game, favorite play here would be Key, just because I think he's too cheap at 5,300. But there's other receivers I like more at 5K. Give me Mumfield over him all day. Give me Gadsden over him all day. So I think he's a pretty good tournament play. I don't think you have to go with this Georgia transfer. I just really question his upside in the spot. I do think he's a good football player, but some of these games that we just got done talking about, I think are pretty nutted. So I would kind of try and push my teams towards that slot and play more one-offs from this game. It's kind of like that Texas game to me, just way cheaper. So give me DSK. Give me Key and kind of pass on the rest of it for me.
All righty, let's move it along. Man, even worse game as I go through. We got Iowa -3, 35.5 rivalry game versus Iowa State. I mean, Bruce, talk to me about this game.
You're not a big believer after Iowa put up 40 last week against Illinois State. I think
our boy's back though. Nick Lachey's back in our life,
and he's cheap.
Oh baby,
yeah, he's not.
He's got to get you excited. No way you don't like him. Iowa named Nick Lachey.
I'm not lying. I'm very excited about Nick Lachey.
Yes,
because I love the Nick Lachey gifts. I mean, we've got to get those going.
Was he hurt last year? Is that what happened?
Yeah, and they brought in some backup guy who was playing in this game too. But yeah, Lachey is too cheap at 3,800 if you just need one play from this game. But yeah, I'm not interested in this spot at all. So it's a full pass from me. I other than Lachey, maybe in tournaments a little bit. Just because he's really good.
Nick Lachey a little bit, but 3,800.
Mm-hmm.
Long, no way you like this game.
I don't mind Lachey. You get the number one receiver at 3,800. At 3,800, if he catches 8 balls and a touchdown, that's definitely within his range of outcomes here. I think he's one of the better cheap plays on the slate, to be honest.
Now you're getting me
3.8K. 3.8K. I mean, I think he has to. And he's the only one-off I'm considering in this game. So if he busts, the game busts for me. But yeah, I think he's definitely in play this week.
You just literally described too, kind of what I was talking about, the cheaper version of the Michigan game, where when these totals are lower, the guys I like to just totally throw in randomly are the possession guys that can go 8 for 40 and a touchdown. I mean, if he gets you 18 to 20 somehow at that price, which he can if he scores and gets a bunch of targets, because sometime in these low-scoring games, they just pepper these big tight ends. And I just think Lachey's a really don't get me wrong. I'm not like super excited to just jam him in there, but I think you should have some Lachey in this spot. Let's get to
he's even pretty safe. Like, I mean, he's going to go out and get like 8 to 10 targets here. Like, even if they run 50 plays, he's going to get that.
And we always talk about like upside to win tournaments and stuff, but what people don't always tell you, if you get like 8 from a 3,800 guy, 8 to 10, it doesn't kill you. Yeah, you're probably not going to win a tournament that week, but it doesn't hurt the rest of your team. It lets you get up to guys like Ollie and these studs that do win it for you. So there's nothing wrong with a good floor on these guys.
Last week was so narrow too, just because like all the chalk value absolutely smashed. So like when that happens, like, oh, everyone's getting 30 from Gadsden at, 3,500. So like, the 10 point to 15 point, like 3K games that we've seen take down GPPs plenty of times. Like I just, if you're new to college football, that's not like the normal. Like the normal is like jam these cheap guys to get like the super expensive guys who will get you 40 or 50.
Yep. Totally agree with you. Let's get to Majerus game. We got Utah, who actually looked really good to me last week. They are minus 14.5, it looks like, 55 versus Baylor. What do we got? Well, this has got to be your dream tight end spot, Bruce. What do we got here?
Yeah, you're right. It's old Keithy back in our lives. Love to see
it. With a low projection and no one going to play him.
He caught 3 touchdowns last week. Just looked great. I will have to go back. They blew out Southern Utah last week, and they brought in Zach Wilson's little brother, let him play the second half.
He looked exactly like him. Me and Mangone were watching, and I'm like, that looks like Zach Wilson. And then it hit me that it's got to be his brother.
And then they showed his mom and his dad in the stands. Zach was there too. So yeah. He looks almost exactly like him. But I love Utah here. I love the Utah side. I'm probably going to bet it here in a few minutes. I think they just destroy Baylor here. It looks great. I posted in the chat this morning about Baylor's offensive line. One of their guys on the Baylor board, usually pretty biased, said Baylor shifted through the first and second team on the offensive line. Neither could get a significant push against Tarleton. That's like an FBS school. They just started a football team there. So I just think Utah smashes them here on the ground, through the air. Could be Rising. I think Rising could smash. They really love this running back, Dijon Stanley. Dude played 27% of the snaps last week, had 2 long touchdown catches. And, I think he looks explosive. They could give him a little bit more time. And then Micah Bernard, of course, he's 5,800. I think he's a solid running back play as well. I don't love these Baylor running backs just because of that note. And then, you have Keithy, Dorian Singer. Those 2 guys, probably my top priority if I'm playing like a guy like Rising. And then on the Baylor side, if you want to run back, Hal Presley is 3,800 and starts. And he's a solid big play guy. If you really want somebody like Ketron Jackson's also there, about the same price, and a big play guy too. But I really just like the Utah side here. I think they smash them.
What do you think, Slong?
Yeah, I'm super high on Utah this year. Everyone on the bet side of the package knows we have a decent sized future on Utah, 60-1 to win it all, and 4-1 to win the Big 12. So, I'm going to be high on them pretty much all year. I just worry that this could be like a slower paced game. It's a little bit harder to pay off the prices. That being said, I like Singer here, good amount, 6,100 tournament play. Nobody's going to be on him after he didn't do shit last week, but he's their number 1 receiver still. You could debate whether Keithy's a receiver or a tight end, but Singer's the number 1 receiver on this team. So, people who love to box score watch after week 1, these are the type of plays that I like guys who can come out and absolutely smash that did absolutely nothing and like he has 5 fantasy points per game. Like I just don't think anyone's clicking that like that or that's hand building teams. So he definitely makes my pool in tournaments this week. I mean, I like Keithy too. I don't think he's going to be that high owned. I don't think this game will be in general. Rising, I think, goes completely under the radar at 8,900. I do like him in tournaments. Issue I have here is, it's hard for me to run it back just because I can't find a single Baylor play that really sticks out to me. It's kind of like the Auburn Cal game to me in that sense, where like I like one side of the game like a bunch, and I don't like the other side at all. In terms of running backs here, I do prefer Utah's pass game this week, but I think Bernard, he'd make my pool in tournaments. I don't think he gets there in cash. I just think there's too much volatility to his volume to get there with Stanley right behind him. So I think both are decent GPP plays, but they don't make any cash for me.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the Singer thing, because I actually had a note that like one of my favorite double stacks was both of your guys with Rising, because literally no one's going to play that. And like Bryce said, Utah is a sneaky play, which a lot of sharp people are on to win the title. They looked incredible to me last week. There's nothing to say that they can't just put like a 60 piece up on Baylor and just pound them. And if they do, Rising to these two pass catchers is a great option that literally no one in the field is going to have. Like no one. These guys are both, they look expensive. Even Rising looks expensive. So whenever it's like that, you just know you're getting low ownership. Truly like a $20, whatever it is this week, 100K to first. Pop a team in there like that where you got the double stack with both catchers. Because like you guys said, Kuthi's the beast tight end. Singer's the big play receiver. What was he at? Arizona and then USC or something? A stud. He did go to he went to USC last year, right? And sucked because they had all the things going on. But he's a big play guy. I love where you guys are at in this game. It makes a ton of sense in tournaments. No one's going to play Rising. Even if you play just one of them, I mean, I'm good with that too. But for some reason, just the double stack just catches my eye with the prices, because if you get 30 plus from Rising, 20 plus from both receivers, you're off and running with no ownership. So I like that. Go ahead.
One thing to keep in mind with Baylor's offense, they switched to Jake Spavital at offensive coordinator. That was the guy that Johnny Football had at A&M when he was in his glory days. They throw the ball a ton. I mean, even last week they threw the ball 62% of the time. So that could kind of lead to a Utah smash here too, especially if Utah's able to stop the pass.
And Wakey just texted me, our boy Wakey, another big week one last week for him. He said, I don't know, he might have sent this earlier, but I just saw it, that Syracuse best linebacker is supposed to be out too. So that makes those Georgia Tech quarterback running back even better on the ground. So just a little tidbit from Wakey. And like always, he's going to have all his stuff up for the members. He'll be in Discord, I'm sure. So take advantage of it, because you just have really good people. You got Bryce, who plays as much as anyone on there. You got Wakey in there winning tournaments. Bruce, who's got better info than anybody. And then me just pretending that I know stuff. So you got as much as you could need in there to do good at college football. So take advantage of these guys. I mean, there's just so much knowledge in there. Let's move on to what do we got? No, Notre Dame. God, friggin' Notre Dame. Northern Illinois, I guess 27.5, 44.5. I don't like this game, but Bruce, what do we got?
It's terrible. It's a terrible game. I think the only plays are the Notre Dame running backs, Love and Price. But even that might be kind of thin if the game gets out of hand. Northern Illinois can't stop the run, and I like the way Love and Price looked last week. Notre Dame should be able to hammer them, and they're priced like they're workhorse guys too, so it's tough to play them. But yeah, definitely just the two running backs maybe in tournaments. But other than that, the game's terrible.
Yeah, they got a big total. You got they're going to be low on running backs too, just because of the projection. Can we do anything with it, Bryce, or is this it's just another ugly one?
I've really talked up some spots on the show, and I'd rather just continue to hammer those spots than get different here. Game's just a fade for me.
I think that's one of the reasons I've always had success in college. I just don't get influenced by any of the shitty games. Like I just jam the good spots, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I don't overthink it. Just put it in there. Why would you play this game instead of some of those games we talked up hard? It's just, could it get there? Sure. I mean, they could score a bunch of points with these, especially through the ground game. But I mean, 7,100 and 6,400 for these guys. I can't do it. But I get
it. Give me Utah all day to be different over this game.
Yeah.
And neither's going to come in with ownership. So
yeah.
I mean, Utah has legit upside. Because they're in the national title picture. I mean, they could put up 60 easy and not even break a sweat in that game. And it made me like it even more that Bruce wanted to lay the points. It's just a really good spot. But let's move on to last game of the slate. Maryland, our boy last week. Finally, we get rid of Mini Tua. We get a dude that's built like a freaking truck, runs, and he actually threw it good last week. Another play that I didn't play last week that hurt me was the receiver here, who absolutely nuked too. But Bruce, what do we got here? -3. It looks like another low total though, 45. Is there anything we can go to here?
Yeah, you and me both. I played Billy Edwards, but I did not play Felton with him, and I did not see 300 passing yards in his future. And he just absolutely.
I would have never dreamed it.
No,
dude can't throw.
Can't throw, and he just crushed.
Yeah, and like Felton made him look good a few times. So yeah, it's those
are the plays though. That's what I try to tell people. Like when they ask like different process questions, like you can't always act like you were going to win. I was never going to play Felton. I'll just admit it. Like if he's in the winner, I just wasn't going to win that week. You can't hit every single thing. Like you got to be honest with yourself. Like when you look back, you can always be like, "Oh, I played Edwards. I could have played Felton." I was never freaking playing Felton. The dude can't throw. Just because he smashed, I'm not going to like beat myself up about it.
Yeah, and a couple of those at least one of the touchdown was all Felton. It wasn't Edwards at all, but still throwing for 300 yards is a great feat, and big props to Edwards in that. And it looks like their backup MJ Morris, he got hurt at the end of the game last week, and he didn't practice, so it should be Edwards all the way, I think. And great matchup against Michigan State. Michigan State's going to definitely try and slow down the game here, but I like Maryland's defense to slow them down. I didn't like Nate Carter last week. I didn't like Childs. They all look terrible. They'll probably look better by
old Chili's. Everybody was on Chili's the slate, and the dude is absolute cheeks.
He's only 18, so that's the problem.
Is he going to be better when he's 19? He's cheeks.
Yeah, he just looks very inconsistent. He made a really bad throw on the goal line.
That's because he's shitty.
I don't think he's
bad.
If
he's 15, 18, 25. He sucks.
I think he'll be good eventually.
No.
Yeah, but the running back situation between Carter and Lynch Adams. They kept trying to run out this Carter dude. Lynch Adams looked way better. And,
did you see their total usage? This was hilarious when I looked.
Yeah,
like Carter got like way more. Yeah. Carter was way worse than the other dude.
Yeah, and then they put the other guy in. He gets immediate touchdown. You don't even see him again.
And he looked good when he did. Yeah. It was like explosive.
Yeah, and then they didn't put him back in. I didn't get it. I had so much Lynch Adams, and it was nuts. I faded Carter.
That was the smart move. They should have rewarded you for that.
Yeah, he was on UMass last year, and that was a terrible squad, and he looked like the best player on that team. So just remembered him from there. And on the Maryland side, I think they're able to run the football here. Himby and Nolan Ray. Nolan Ray looked great last week. He's a freshman running back, and broke off like a 40-yard touchdown run, which tilted a lot of the Himby owners. But Himby did get a touchdown, had 14 carries last week. So, he's still going to get the bulk of the carries with Ray being kind of that big play running back. Felton's still 5,400. I think that's right. Am I correct there? He's still cheap. And then Prather is 4,600, the West Virginia transfer. So definitely both of those guys in play. Total's low, but I like Edwards a little bit, and this Michigan State team is going to take a while to be good. So I think Maryland just does whatever they want to Michigan State here.
Schlong, what we think?
I mean, Michigan State looked absolutely atrocious last week. I can't really see playing him in that spot with all these good plays we have on the slate. And then I just see this being a super drab game, and Maryland's more one-offs for me. You could see Billy Edwards get there, and he can get there any slate on the ground. I just don't really see him replicating his performance of last week, throwing the football. And I think he might garner some ownership just because he's who won the GPPs last week. So I don't know, if he made you money last week, you're probably likely to play him this week. I just kind of think it won't go under the radar completely. And in a game like this, I'm looking for plays to go under the radar. So if I'm playing anyone here, honestly, it'd be these scat back big play guys. But I think running back is so strong, I struggle to get to them. Or even a Hemby, I see guys at 6K that I just want to click on way more than him. So I doubt I'm going to get to a lot of this game.
Yeah, makes sense. The price tag on Edwards is what just stares at me, and it's probably, to Schlong's point, why he's going to get ownership, because he nuked. You can play this combo of 6,500, 5,400. They both nuked, which everyone just saw last week. People are going to want to play it more than they should. The hard part for me is it kind of baits me into it too, because they're just so cheap. I saw Michigan State look shitty. It's not going to be a main team type thing, but I'm struggling to resist at least a little bit of Edwards to Felton, even though I think it's a bad play, honestly. I kind of agree with Schlong, and that the smart side of me is saying not to do it, but the donkey side of me is look at those price tags versus Michigan State. So it's a little bit of an interesting spot, but let's get to our plays of the day. Bruce, you want to go first?
Sure. Yeah. Man, there's a lot here. I didn't even prep for this before the show, but
that's good. That's what I want. No prep. Just right on the whim.
Let me go with my guy Jamal Haynes from Georgia Tech.
Oh, I like that, especially with Wakey's new info. I like that. I like that a lot. What do we got, Schlong? Play of the day.
I'm gonna go with Eli Holstein. I just don't see how Pitt.
You guys are spoiling me here. Holstein. These are Holstein, Haynes, and that. I don't know if I can even go on after you guys give two plays that good, but I got to go with my boy Simmons after Bruce put the clip in the Discord. Number 2 receiver in the country, 4,500, and I'll even say the quarterback. Whoever's watching the show. 4-man stack right there we just gave you. That's both your quarterbacks. You got 7,800 for Thorne, 6,500 for Holstein. I don't have Haynes' price written down on my sheet, but I know he's not crazy expensive. And then 4,500 for Simmons. That's a core. We're only giving 4 this year, which I did want to talk about on the show. So a lot of people were like, why'd you go from 5 to 4? Listen, we're giving all our rankings now, 1 through 5, all the positions, cash, all of us. You're going to know who we like. If we give 5 like we have in the past and the rankings, the problem is you just end up – we have so many people with the same teams that it's not because we don't want to help. We do want to help. We're doing a show right here. We're giving unlimited content. But if you read our stuff, you're going to know who we like anyways. We're just not going to just literally put it on the core page and let you do it that way. You got to do a little work for it with the stuff. But it's not because we want to – whatever people were saying in my DMs with stuff. We're still trying to help as much as we can. The rankings are on. We've never had more content for college football than we do this year with these tags, with everything that's going up. And we're going to have – Bruce has always done the night slate and the late night slate pretty much by himself. Sometimes I would put a core in. We're going to have that, though. There won't be the full gauntlet of 4 or 5 of us on there, but a couple people with Bruce on the night slate and then at least one other person with him on the late night slate. So that we have you guys covered for the whole day of college football. If anyone has any suggestions, like always, we're open to whatever, but I could not be more confident in the product we have this year. So hopefully everyone likes it. You guys got anything else before we get out of here? Just
love this slate. Way more than last week. I think think it's a really good one here, and can't wait for Saturday to see all the winners that we get.
Yeah, the night slate and the the late night slate.
Colorado. Which one's Colorado on?
Fantastic. That's the late night or the night slate. Yeah.
The 7 o'clock.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. And then there's 5 games on the late night slate too, which usually like a 2 or 3 gamer. It was 2 games this week or last week, and it's huge. So I'll definitely be ready for that one. I'm getting those projections done tonight. Both those night slates look fantastic. I just can't wait.
And people just need to appreciate what Bruce does. I know I talk him up a lot, and people think the dude grinds all week for you guys. Get all the info, all the slates. Friday night, there's stuff up tonight. We haven't talked about the Friday night slate, but slate tonight. It's not the biggest, but whatever. It's still college football. There's NFL. Get football on your TV. Bruce has got freaking write-ups next to every player the whole freaking weekend. Just amazing what Bruce does for the members, and I know I appreciate it. Makes what I do easier. And everyone should appreciate what he does because he just absolutely crushes it. But another fun week. Let's get all the money tomorrow. Appreciate you all. And NFL's back too, so check out all that stuff. We will see you guys next time.